Everyone, welcome to the show. So, oh my God, the Friday night news dump was insane. And we're all officially on indictment watch because, as you guys may have heard, various law enforcement agencies from the local to the federal level started prepping for an indictment of Donald Trump and the potential for violence. This is, of course, related to the grand jury investigation into the hush money payments made to Stormy Daniels prior to the 2016 election. And DA Alvin Bragg sent an email to his employees assuring them that they would be protected against credible threats, that everything would be investigated and that safeguards are in place. So Trump's attorney, Joe Tacopina, is saying that Trump, if he is indicted, he will surrender. He'll allow himself to be taken in for processing. Trump is clearly freaking out, though, and with good reason, because news just broke before I started recording this segment that an indictment is going to be any minute. It could be late this afternoon. It could be on Wednesday. And I'll explain why in just a second. It might not be till Wednesday, but he's freaking out. He went on his failing social media site over the weekend. He had a full-on meltdown, referred to himself in the third person, and he's blatantly trying to incite more violence. Trump wrote in part, and in all caps, quote, "The far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest. Take our nation back." Well, an indictment was not likely because the grand jury was scheduled to hear from another potential witness. There were possibly two they were going to hear from before they voted on whether or not to indict. And the grand jury only meets for 3 hours on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of the week. So, more than likely they ran out of time today and they're going to have to wait until Wednesday, which means an arrest or Trump turning himself in wouldn't happen until the end of this week, early next week. Well, we found out yesterday the identity of who these mystery guests were. So the first was attorney Robert Costello. He represents Rudy Giuliani, so that tells you a lot about him. And Costello allegedly was going to go in to testify about Cohen's lack of credibility, Michael Cohen. The DA had Cohen on standby to come in to potentially rebut Costello's testimony. But it was reported this afternoon that Costello is pissed off. He spoke with the media after he came out, and he said he was all upset because they didn't ask him the questions that he wanted them to ask. He wanted them to ask about Cohen. Apparently, they only asked him about like a handful of emails. So he's all upset because he didn't get to tell them, what he wanted them to know about Cohen and tattle on him. And here's the thing, too. Costello is the one who allegedly posited the idea of a pardon for Cohen when Trump was being investigated by the first special counsel, by Robert Mueller. They were trying to keep Cohen quiet. And Robert Mueller's report contains an email that Costello sent to Cohen. And this was when the special counsel was pressuring Cohen to flip on Trump. So the email stated that Costello had spoken to Rudy Giuliani. This is what he's relaying to Cohen. He said, "I spoke with Rudy Giuliani. The conversation was, quote, very, very positive. You are loved. They are in our corner. Sleep well tonight. You have friends in high places." So that could be considered witness tampering by Costello. So not a real good look for an attorney, and this is the guy who's going to come in and save the day, or Trump thought. But Trump also has another issue in that Cohen is not the only witness to these campaign finance crimes. Rudy Giuliani went on Fox News and spilled the tea. You guys probably remember that. He literally admitted to Trump's payments to Cohen on national television. And Mrs. Alternative Facts, Miss Bowling Green Massacre, Kellyanne Conjob, she also knew about these payments and this arrangement. There's also a paper trail. So here we are, we're waiting for the indictment. Trump is once again winding up his little toy soldiers. He's pointing them at his enemies, just like he did on January 6th. Instead of being a real leader, instead of urging calm, doing what's right for the country, no, this sociopath is trying to whip up his insurrectionists again. He also, though, knows that he needs to maintain plausible deniability, right? So he's not explicitly saying go attack them, but he knows what he's doing. Because Trump received even more bad news last week, and he needs something to change the topic. He needs something to shake things up. He needs to put the fear of God into investigators, into all of the people who are going to potentially be prosecuting him. Because Chief U.S. District Judge, or now former Chief U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell, sided with the special counsel last week. She said that Trump attorney Evan Corcoran must provide full answers to the grand jury investigating the classified documents matter. So Corcoran, as I've mentioned previously, asserted attorney-client privilege, and he refused to answer some of the questions when he sat for the grand jury. But the special counsel was able to successfully argue and prove that the crime fraud exception should apply to his testimony. So that means that the judge saw enough evidence that she believes that a crime had been committed. This would be either with Corcoran or based on his legal advice. So it's possible Corcoran could still go before the grand jury and refuse to answer questions based on his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. And it's also possible that the special counsel could offer him immunity in return for his cooperation. But it's not looking good for Trump in that regard. And Judge Howell also provided the prosecutor with Corcoran's notes about private conversations that he had with Trump about these classified documents. And according to legal experts, that was a really unusual move. It's somewhat controversial because they say normally what would happen is the judge would order that the notes be handed over by Corcoran, and that would allow him time to review the notes and to file an emergency appeal. So a federal litigator who spoke with the Daily Beast said, quote, "She may have been concerned from what she read in the documents. She may have not trusted them to comply with an order." So we have no idea what she was thinking or what she saw because her orders are still under seal. So this is just what's been leaked out. But this, by the way, as I said, she's now the former U.S. Chief District Judge. That was Judge Howell's final action before she stepped down as the head of the district judges. And I kind of pictured her walking out the door like this.
Catch you on the flip side, motherfuckers.
So in regard to the classified documents case, we also learned on Friday that numerous Mar-a-Lago staffers who they've been testifying before the grand jury, and this includes a housekeeper, also restaurant servers. And on Thursday of last week, a former White House aide named Margot Martin, she testified. She apparently worked for Trump in the White House, but then she continued working for him after he left. It was also revealed on Friday that the Justice Department now has the election report that Trump commissioned. I've mentioned that before. That's the one that proved that there was no widespread voter fraud. He paid for it. So I'm going to be sharing the details about that report in a separate segment and why Trump is completely busted, especially in Georgia. But speaking of Georgia, there's news out of that as well. It is said that sources close to DA Fani Willis are saying that they are absolutely looking at Trump for RICO violations, meaning that he and others conspired and worked as a crime syndicate of sorts to try to overturn the election. Also, Trump's attorneys tried today to quash that investigation. They submitted a document to the court asking for the entire special grand jury investigation to be tossed out and for Fani Willis to be removed from office, as if that's going to happen. And then last but not least, both E. Jean Carroll and Trump have agreed to combine her two lawsuits against him. And if that's approved by the judge, the trial for both of those lawsuits will take place next month on April 25th. This would combine her defamation lawsuit That was for Trump's denial of her rape allegations while he was still the president. It would combine that case with the second lawsuit, which is for the actual rape itself, for the charge of battery, as well as additional so-called or supposedly defamatory statements that he made against her after he left office. What a time to be alive. Anyway, thanks so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate or become a monthly supporter if you can. Truly appreciate it. It helps to keep the show going because YouTube just not giving me a whole lot of love. So thanks again, guys. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.